Dan, you can read him because I just get all choked up.
Okay. Okay. Michael Collins was the so-called forgotten astronaut. He was the guy who circled the moon over 80 times while Armstrong and who else was it were on the moon during the first lunar landing. Um, so here is Michael Collins, who came through on October 13th of this year. I'll read the bio here. Michael Collins, born in 1930, was an American astronaut who flew the Apollo 11 command module, Columbia, 80 times around the moon in 1969, while his crewmates, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, made the first crewed landing on the surface. He was also a test pilot and major general in the U.S. Air Force. And just to avoid confusion, both the Space Shuttle Columbia and the Apollo 11 command module were both named Columbia. Collins piloted the Apollo 11 command module, but he did not fly on the shuttle. Okay, here's his message. Dear friends who pray and seek peace, they told me to shout from my place here in this afterlife, my existence. I normally do not shout, but I'm still working to figure this out, the communication bit. I was brought to you by my buddies, the ones who flew with me in Apollo 11. They said I could speak with you and possibly fill in the missing pieces. I left my family holding the bag and realized that wasn't fair to them. But per your calendar, it has been a few years since I let the cat out of the bag as I lay dying. Excuse me. Because of the internet, my big secret has become more about assumptions and preconceptions of what may or may not have happened back in July 69. You, Regina, were a child. I know this because my friends here and your father have shown me. Yes, I met your dad when he was commissioned to do our Apollo 11 crew portrait, the three of us, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and me. Yes, that's true. Regina's father was a very well-noted and very well um, uh, rewarded artist in his time. It's funny how I am considered the forgotten astronaut of this threesome. However, that is not how I felt. Never. I flew the Apollo 11 mission the same as I was trained for all my flights, my posts and commands. I accepted each assignment with gratitude and with the knowledge that these missions or test flights were a privilege. Gemini and Apollo were gifts collected at the top of the mountain, one for each astronaut in training who climbed, summited, and was then honored to receive it. How fortunate a man was I, a mere mortal, to have the opportunity to fly to the moon. Earth's rise over the lunar surface became my awe moment, the very point at which my life's existence, the reality of my mortality became known to me. Somewhere deep within, I cannot tell you where, but so deep it awakened in a spark, like the spark off napped flint falling upon dry tinder. At the very moment when I bore witness to the planet cresting the moon's surface, tethered by gravity to the solar winds of the bright star at my back, our sun, that I realized I was more than a man, pilot, astronaut, father, and husband. I was part of an intangible grand plan. I was no longer one individual in humanity, but a life force greater than my physical body, larger than the Columbia orbiter. And then, within minutes, darkness surrounded me, when the light of our sun could not reach me, floating in the shadow of the moon. That is where the rest of this story, my secret, lies. In the darkness. That is where I saw life. Not what scientists would determine to be alive, but something beyond our physical senses. A light of ethereal wisdom. I experienced calmless ecstasy, knowing I was being fully embraced, enveloped, protected. Something beyond the orbiter penetrated the walls, assuring my safekeeping. Awash in this knowledge, I had no fear. I knew my mission, the assignment to reveal review all calculations in preparation for possible mishaps with the orbital rendezvous of the lunar module. I kept calculations at the ready, was prepared, and completed multiple scenarios with precision and calm. I had no fear. Though circumnavigating the moon solo and physically cut off from communication with the rest of humanity, I sensed aloneness only once, the initial tour into the moon's shadow. Strange as it might sound, I felt I was watched, guarded by another source, another type of being. I never saw it, I just felt it. I couldn't speak of this even to my family. I shared only the physical insights. I shared only the physical sights I witnessed. However, what changed me was what I could not see. There was no need to return to space. I received the greatest gift, the awakening of my soul. I wanted everyone to feel this, and giving up my seat to the next in line was one way. I spent my career in support of space exploration to go beyond and discover the infinite universe. It is not what you think. It is greater, effervescent. When I died, when my body expired, all the guys were there to catch me. I fell out of my body. The bed I was in just disappeared and I dropped into a spatial abyss, the same place I floated through when outside Gemini 10. No gravity, just floating, without a spaceflight suit, no tether to the capsule. I looked around me and all I saw was space, the depth of darkness, of black space brilliantly lit with the stars. Galaxies floated past me, or was I floating past the galaxies? Dots and swirls of lights made from the atoms of millions of gases and minerals. I wasn't wearing any oxygen, no helmet, no shield, no helmet to shield my eyes, no air-filled spacesuit to protect me from the coldness of space. I wore nothing and thought, how strange. I existed in utter peace, not a care or worry. I could see my body still, and I looked at it, getting older. How could I get much older, I wondered. I'm 90 already. But then the body, its skin, the exposed muscles and skeleton seemed to just slowly vanish into the thin air, quote, thin air surrounding me. I experienced a freedom like none other. I was completely and utterly free. That's when the guys showed up, all of them. Neil Armstrong, Roger Chaffee, Ed White, Edgar Mitchell, Gus Grissom, and so many others. John Glenn, Wally Schirra, and Alan Shepard, all the fellow flyers who had escaped Earth's gravity. I hadn't realized how many I stood near. I attended their funerals, spoke with their families and friends, and comforted the grieving. Here in space, they all came for me. I was not forgotten. I am not the forgotten astronaut. I'm getting emotional as I write this to those who wish to read it. I, Michael Collins, was a test pilot, astronaut, and champion of space exploration. I never understood why I was allowed to live so long. Why hadn't God taken me sooner to join my friends and colleagues? Finally, I understand. Before the spark of light ignited within my body, I was not alive, not truly engaged with all of myself. For the remainder of my life, I quietly studied and sought the purpose of the soul within, striving to never forget how I was enveloped by a greater sense of reality, a larger sense of being. In that moment on the dark side of the moon, I became more than a human circling the moon, commanding the orbiter. I felt my soul take its breath. I felt alive, more than alive, immortal. That physical death would come when it was time, and not any sooner. NASA gave each of us a gift when we were assigned to Apollo 11's mission. Mine was the discovery of my soul. Respectfully, Michael Collins, Major General, U.S. Air Force, Commander of Apollo 11, July 1969.